Jeff is getting tired of telling you how good the War for the Tower is, so he'd like me to tell you about his other podcasts, all of which are members of the Sinister Parent Company network. Good Idea is an improvised think tank that takes half-baked ideas and turns them into genius. Everything is Awesome is an in-depth interview show about independent art, good writing, and social issues. Something Wonderful Right Away is a hilarious long-form improv show. And Shattered Worlds RPG is a space opera actual play that uses the RPG system that Jeff created. Check out all these shows and more on the Sinister Parent Company Twitter feed at SinParentCo.
This is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Doctor Who, Season 6, Episode 12. Closing time. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Yeah. Welcome to Unspoiled. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
And I'm Jaime. And now we owe whatever that band's name was, like, some money.
Isn't that awful that we have to say whatever that band's name was?
I can't remember.
Was it Duncan Sheik? Was he Duncan?
No.
Who was Duncan Sheik? What did he do?
Shit. I have, like, 2 of his albums, too. I can't remember what his single was that was big, but... no, it was...
What?
I worked at a fucking record store when that was out. I should know this.
It says Barely Breathing. I am barely breathing.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Okay.
That's Duncan Sheik.
Yeah. That was actually a pretty good song.
Semisonic. That's what they were called.
Oh. Only a little bit sonic. Partially sonic. Okay. So, did we introduce ourselves? I lost track of the thread.
We did.
So we got Craig back.
Yeah.
Now, before we started recording, you had a real tone when you talked about this episode. What's up with that?
I just never... I wonder if I even saw this when it originally aired, to be honest. Because I feel like the first time I saw it was when I did my rewatch not that long ago.
Oh.
I, had no recollection. And to a point where people would talk about the other time that James Corden was on, and I was like, I don't remember him coming back. I honestly don't know if I ever saw this episode when it aired.
I don't know why I find it so funny how I think it was a combo of the fact that you didn't remember and the fact that you quoting yourself, you sounded drunk. But I don't remember him coming back.
So, I mean, I don't have anything against this episode. It's fun. It's just, we're so close to the finale that other than, certain little parts where the Doctor has, a realization about himself or whatever, it feels like a little filler.
Yeah.
For me.
I mean, okay. I have 2 different perspectives here in my head that are coexisting. One is, as you say, having an episode where he beats the cybermen through the power of love really does feel just so not what we're here for right now, kids. Mm-hmm. I think we can all agree.
Yeah.
However, another part of me is so delighted that it's the father of the child that wins via love rather than the mother.
Sure.
Because that is such a trope, is that, it's a mother's love. And yes, I'm looking at you, JKR. And I kind of enjoy that that's been sort of, we're doing something a little bit less traditional here. And the child is calling him not mum initially, and he eventually sort of earns his name.
The other day, Jason's sister posted a video of her baby, Lydia, just talking up a storm. She's like 4 months old. Just baby noising. And I was like, you need the doctor. He speaks baby. And she was like, I wonder what she calls me.
You don't want to know. Nobody wants to know. My mom said that I was a nonstop nonsense talker as a kid. I would just sit by myself and just for hours. And she was like, at first, I thought you wanted interaction, but I began to realize I didn't need to be there and you were still fine. You'd just go on. I was like, yeah, this is all very foreboding. This all seems to point in the direction that we wound up.
Yeah, it's shocking that you ended up with a career where all you do is talk.
Can I tell you, yesterday I guested on a podcast called What's the Difference? And they had a thing called the Gauntlet where they try and like ask you questions and you have to like spend a full minute discussing an object. And they told me that they think I did the best of any guest they ever had. And I was like, yeah, I know how to talk about nothing for quite a while, kids. It is unsurprising to me.
What kind of podcast is this?
It's like a general pop culture podcast. It was odd because I thought that I was being invited on to talk about the new Dresden Files book, but we didn't wind up really talking about it too much. But it was a fun thing to guest on. And one of the hosts, it's called What's the Difference? And one of the hosts is from the US and the other is from the UK. And so apparently that is part of like their gimmick, is discussing like the different perspectives on certain things.
Okay.
But yeah, if y'all want to check it out, I don't even know because when I asked them if they wanted my audio, they said that they were leaving it up on their Facebook page. So I'm not even entirely sure if they have a feed on iTunes or not. But yeah, you can search it. What's the difference? Anyway, I think that we discussed our mixed feelings on James Corden last time. Mm-hmm. And I found him to be pretty charming again in this role.
I like him as an actor for sure. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how I feel about him because I haven't read all of these things that my boyfriend has apparently read about him or has heard from people who's worked with him.
Right.
So he doesn't like James Corden. I don't have a particular problem with him. Mm-hmm. He's not like, it hasn't come out that he's horrible, horrible, horrible to everybody like Ellen DeGeneres.
Yeah.
But, and I like him. I think he's very charming as an actor. So I just really did not remember this. And it feels like we're heading towards something important. And this feels like, why are you slowing me down, though?
Yeah.
Trying to get to that. Mm-hmm. That's all. It just suffers from placement.
Yeah, agreed. It is sort of odd, too, because they have moved so many episodes around this season, based on what you've told me, that they didn't move this one. I don't really understand why they thought this was a good spot for it.
I think because this has from the Doctor's perspective, a purpose of, like, he feels like he's going on this sort of farewell tour. Kind of like what 10 did, but we only saw in montage.
I mean, it does, but it doesn't affect me in that way. Like, I get what they were trying to do here, but it's just not really... It doesn't really work with this character.
Right. Like, he's going on this farewell tour, and hi, Craig, just want to say hi and goodbye. I'm going to head off to do this other thing. But, there's something going on, and now we've got an adventure. That's different from, like, the montage of watching 10 sort of say goodbye to all of his companions. Right. And so it feels like, why are we doing this with Cybermen right now?
Mm-hmm. And Cybermen. I thought we had all agreed that they were the weakest of the villains. And they keep popping back up.
I don't know if it's... Like, I know with the Daleks, there actually is something contractually written that the Daleks have to make an appearance at least once a season. Because the guy who created the Daleks, that's the negotiation he made.
That
It was either
is
at least once a season or
crazy.
not at all. I don't know if there's something like that with the Cybermen or not. Or if they just keep bringing them back because they're a classic villain. But, classics aren't always great.
No. And I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's ways to incorporate a thing. Like, we have the Santaran portrait of how he got scared. Have a fucking Dalek show up in a portrait being terrified. That'd be so funny, actually. What scares a Dalek? I don't even know.
Nothing should.
Nothing should.
The Doctor, maybe.
But you can, figure out ways to do that where they aren't the center of the thing. I don't know, unless it maybe is in the contract, like they have to be on screen for more than 7 minutes and yada, yada, yada.
Oh my god. There haven't been any Daleks this season, have there?
No.
Except for that mention in that episode, in the hotel episode last week, that this woman died because of Daleks.
Yeah, that was her fear.
I wonder if that's their, okay, we brought the Daleks back.
I would love that. Maybe they did appear briefly in
No,
another
it was
episode.
last season. The last time we saw them was that one in London.
Okay.
And that was season 5.
Well, damn. But anyway, I do appreciate that despite the fact I am not here for the Cybermen, they do feel very incidental. They might be the main villains of this piece, but by incorporating a different, robot, they managed to sort of have some mercy on us.
Yeah.
And not
There's
make us
very
deal with
little
that.
Cybermen
Yeah.
in this Cybermen story.
So, and as much as the whole thing with Craig showing back up doesn't totally wash for me in terms of the Doctor's farewell tour, I did enjoy seeing the Doctor trying to be out living amongst regular people again. That was my favorite part of the previous episode with them together. Mm-hmm. So I enjoyed him having a fucking regular clerk job, that actually worked really well. So I didn't dislike this episode. It was just sort of puzzling. And maybe if it had been placed somewhere else, it wouldn't have been quite so baffling to me. But I still enjoyed it.
I like the Doctor with the baby.
Yes.
And I like that the baby calls itself Stormageddon.
Lord of all.
And it also refers to Mum, not Mum, and everyone else as peasants.
Well. Also,
the baby's the Antichrist.
we do see Amy and Rory turn up in a really weird moment.
Well, okay, so there's a little tiny bit of trivia that there's no indication of this in the episode.
Okay.
But it says that in The Impossible Astronaut, there's the different versions of the Doctor gave their ages as 909 and then 1103. So we know that there's this 200-year gap, right?
Okay.
This episode, the writer confirmed that this indeed is 200 years after the God complex for the Doctor. And he has spent these years sort of waving at Amy and Rory through history books and movies and television and all that stuff, which we saw them
piecing together. Right.
Yeah. So for him, it's been 200 years, and he's now suddenly seeing Amy and Rory out shopping, and he has not seen them for 200 years.
How weird. Yeah, that'd really mess with your head, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So for us, it's but you just dropped them off last week.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you so sad? Other than you're sad because there's your friends and you can't even go say hi. But no, for him, it's been 200 years since he's seen them.
I wasn't surprised at how sad he was. The Doctor just seems to be a sad guy. But
yeah,
it was more the fact that now she's got a fragrance and is a model for the fragrance?
she's a model. I don't think it's her fragrance, but it does refer to the the doctor's wife. That name, I can't think of the name of the
I don't remember
perfume
either
right now. But that is something that the doctor's wife mentioned, whatever that word is.
Okay.
And then a petrichor. And then the girl who's tired of waiting is obviously, I guess, Amy as a model was like, oh, what about this for your tagline is what we're supposed to believe.
That's the thing that I find really, like, why I assumed it was her fragrance is, like, that is such a particular thing to have as your slogan, and the name of it did seem familiar, and I figured it was a reference to something that I had forgotten, so I just assumed that was all her.
Maybe she's such a famous model that now she has her own fragrance.
Maybe. I could see that. So, yeah, she's like giving a little girl a autograph in the store, which is just adorable. I mean, Rory is literally married to a supermodel now.
Yeah.
All right, kid. I guess things worked out for you. But anyway, back to the main thing. We see Craig saying goodbye to Sophie.
Yeah.
And she keeps on being like, you can't manage on your own. And honestly, I just thought that this was because he's like been a bachelor and she just figures he can't like wipe his own ass, which unfortunately is genuinely how many dudes operate when there's no woman in their life. They just sort of fall into a black hole on the couch, and that hole is surrounded by Chinese takeout boxes and highly suspicious wads of toilet paper. But it turns out that she's concerned because of a child that is going to remain in his care. And it makes more sense then.
Yeah, and she's like set up like her mom to call, his mom to call, his dad or her dad, I can't remember which, to call. And he's like, oh, I'll be fine. And then when the doctor shows up, he's like, I'm not fine.
Yeah. This is one of those things that I really want people to realize, and I'm tempted to say dudes, but I do mean everyone. People seem to think that they don't have it figured out and other people do have it figured out, and I promise you that they do not have it figured out. It just looks like that because they muddled through for long enough that they've kind of gotten used to muddling. And that is the best any of us do, is muddle through most of the time. So if you are a new parent and you feel inadequate, I feel confident in saying, welcome to the club on behalf of many parents. Because I don't feel like I've talked to any parent who takes the job seriously who doesn't feel like they are bad at the job. You know, like everybody just, if you care, you tend to be hard on yourself. So the fact that he's like, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm going to fuck up. Like, good. You should feel that way because that means that you give a shit. That's good. Well, we want you to constantly be like, oh, is this the right thing to do? I hope this is that I'm making the right call. I'm just doing the best I can. That's fine. You're all right, buddy. Just do your best, you know?
Yeah, I feel bad for parents because stuff like Instagram and Facebook have made it so easy for other parents to make it look like they've got it all together and make anyone who doesn't live up to that aesthetic feel bad about themselves. And like what you're not seeing is that everything else that's not in the frame is a disaster.
Yep.
It's all angles and lighting and set up to look perfectly, just like all of these cooking shows. I watch those cooking shows and I'm like, why does my kitchen never look like that?
Because you live in it.
Right.
Yeah.
And Jason's worked on a cooking show and he was like, that's not her house. That's a house we rented for this purpose.
Right. Yep. So I appreciated this setup and the reveal of what's actually going on here. I like that the show doesn't have him be a complete inept goon.
Right. He's just very new at this.
He's just worried. He wants to do well and he isn't really sure. And that's just fine. You know, I there's such a trope out there of men being useless when it comes to doing anything. And it's damaging to everybody involved, you know? It makes it so women feel they can't depend on the men in their lives. And it makes men feel like men sort of begin to feel like nothing is to be expected of them and fall back on doing the bare minimum and thinking that they are really accomplishing something there.
And should be congratulated.
Exactly.
And it makes men think like, well, child care is not my forte. It's not my area.
Yep.
So I don't need to be good at it, and I don't need to focus on it.
This is the same argument that I get in with people about like cooking or just domestic chores in general, is men will try and say, well, she's just better at it than me. Yeah, likely because she practiced at it because she had to. She's not better at it because she innately is just born knowing how to do it. She put in effort to be good at it, and you can also do that, but you are not, and you are choosing not to. So you can't hide behind that. Oh, she just likes it better than me. Well, okay, she may, but you should know how to fucking make some pasta, sir.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Jason's a better cook than I am. I'm a good cook. He's a better cook. He definitely is. And that's just, it's a little bit natural for him, but also he cooks a lot. So he's gotten better and better as he's done it more and more. And when we first met, he ordered pizza almost every day. So
yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to say that innate skill doesn't come into things at all, because I do think like I am an unusually good cook. I think that happens, but it's not, you know, I was raised being taught how to do things because it was going to be expected of me by the world. And socially, my family knew that and so prepared me. And then, you know, the world continued to reinforce that. So guys just, they sort of take it for granted that a woman is better at a thing simply because women are better at the thing. And it's like, no, women just have the pressure put on them to do this and this expectation to do this that you don't have. And maybe you should just, you know, flout that a little bit. But this is not the domestic chores cast. This is...
It's not?
Jamie's like, hold on, shit, I've got to scrap all these notes. So the doctor comes to the door, and Craig is just like in the middle of trying to promise that he can cope on his own as the lights are flickering on and off. And there is a woman who's working at this clothing shop that she offers. This is one of those things where I was watching and I was just like, bitch, don't let her go. She volunteers for this girl to like leave early and go see her boyfriend, and she'll take care of the till and she'll clean up.
No, she wanted to go watch Top Model.
That's what she wanted to do?
Yes, she wanted to get home for Top Model.
Oh God. I thought it was, I couldn't even like understand what she was saying in that scene. So I just assumed that it was a dude.
Nope.
Well, that's even worse. God help us.
I don't know. The UK Top Model was really good at this point.
Jaime, do not encourage this. So yeah, this woman tells her, she's her supervisor, and she's like, go on home and I'll take care of this. And she goes into the dressing room, and there is this like form in one of the stalls, and she tells them that they get 2 minutes before she has to close up. And later on, when she's like kind of seeing the shadow coming from underneath the door, she realizes that does not look like a person. Something's weird about that. And she opens the curtain, and there is a Cyberman standing there. And then she does not turn up for work the following day. Mm-hmm. So I guess she got Cyberman?
Yeah.
That sucks.
Converted?
I don't like it. She deserved better than that. I don't know, it's unnecessary. What are we doing?
Oh, Cybermen are terrible.
Yeah.
They keep doing this. They keep snatching people and turning them into robots.
Like, get over it, guys. You were so over. Stop trying to make it happen. It's not going to happen.
Why do you go somewhere else? Why do you keep ending up here?
Yeah. You know, I'm sure there's a place where, like, the beings would be like, oh, really? You can turn us into like pure logic thinking machines? We're all for that.
The place where the little mole guy was from.
Oh,
from
my
last
God.
episode. It's perfect.
That's true.
Symbiosis.
So that happens with her. The doctor, meanwhile, is like coming to apparently visit Craig as part of his, as you put it, a farewell tour. And he is noticing that there is weird shit happening, and he is trying very hard not to notice, but he can't help it. Mm-hmm. And so he has this moment. First, he's like, something's wrong. And then it turns out to be that there is a baby in the house, which is...
He says that there is an increased amount of sulfur emissions.
Oh, my God. Dude. Honestly, though, I'm on his side here. Miles was talking to me yesterday about potentially having another child, and I just completely lost my shit and was just like, why would you do that? In like a genuine, like, why are you throwing your life away kind of voice? Super judgmental. Like, it just came out. And he started laughing and was like, dude, it's by request. I don't know what to tell you. And I was like, it's weird. People get all up in their feelings about, well, I don't understand trans people and what. Then I'm like, it's none of your business. You don't need to understand it. Shut up. But when it comes to kids, which is also none of my business, I'm just like, but why? Like, I don't understand it. And I get
like so
much more upset about
it. It never ends.
It's just, it's another person. I think that's why. If you're dealing with your own stuff and figuring out who you are, you're only affecting yourself. And you have every right to do that. But when you decide to have a kid, you're bringing a whole other being into the situation, and you're gonna fuck them up. Like, you just are. That's what being a person is that you are fucked up, and you have to sort of figure out how to, like, cope with the world despite that. That's what it is to be a person.
It's dark.
It is. It is. This is my point. And I just don't understand being interested in that. And I know I'm an outlier. Most people do not agree with me on this, but I just I don't get it.
I'm with you. Like 100%. I understand exactly where you're coming from. I have friends and family who, like, all they wanted was to have kids. And for me, that just is like, well, why? Mm-hmm. But for them, it, like, I look at the world and I'm like, why would, no. But I don't know. Like, I don't understand it because I don't have that drive. I never have. But people take that from me. They're like, well, you hate kids. I'm like, I don't, actually.
Yeah.
Kids are fine. Like, I don't know how to talk to them necessarily, and I'm uncomfortable. But I don't dislike them. And I love my friends' kids. And I love my nieces and nephews. Love. Just don't want any of my own. And the idea of being like, yeah, I really want to have a baby seems so foreign to me. Mm-hmm. That I would be the same way as you. Like, when you said, Miles, like, yeah, we're thinking about having another kid, my head was, why?
Exactly.
You just had one.
Yep.
Just. It's very quick.
And, like, that's the way that it's supposed to work. Like, you have your kids fairly close together, ideally, so that you're not just, like, raising children for the rest of your natural life.
Right.
But to me, you have the one, and don't you want to, like, give it 8 years at least before you, so that you know you got it right before you start on a new one? But no, that's not. I sort of see kids as like iPhones, where you just like let it run out of like the software. You make it so that the software just kind of doesn't function anymore on the phone before you get a new one. And yeah, apparently, like, for some reason, people don't see their kids like phones, and I don't really can't relate. So
I don't know. I'll have to ask Jess. Did you just have to upgrade from Cormac to get Lydia? Is she an upgrade? Answer in comments, Jess.
Also, I always think about having another kid as being like this unfair advantage that kid gets, because the first one had to deal with all of your original neuroses from when you didn't know what you were doing. And then the second one gets to get away with and benefit from all of the shit that you've learned to let slide over the course of the first relationship with your kid.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that's super not fair.
Well, and then add a third one, and the third one can do no wrong. But the first one will get in trouble for what the third one did, because you should have stopped them. You know better. Am I speaking from experience? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would probably be that kind of parent. See, this is why I don't want to do it.
Yeah, my brothers used to do stuff that I was babysitting, but I wasn't babysitting. Like, they were playing, doing their thing. I was watching TV or whatever. I was 14, 13. And they would do something stupid. And my mom would be like, well, why did you should have stopped them. Why'd you let them do that? I'm like, oh, he's 7. He should know better.
Yeah.
And she's like, but he doesn't. And you do. And then I get in trouble. I'm like, but I was watching Goonies. Like, what?
I was watching Goonies. Oh, God. All right. So the doctor does not, after yelling at himself for noticing that something is wrong, he does not turn back around and go back to Craig's house, which is what I expected him to do. He goes and gets a job at a shop because he has apparently traced back the disturbances to this place. And eventually Craig just happens to come in shopping and is like, what are you doing here? And I am dying to know what everyone is going to make of the fact that Craig shops here, apparently. And he's going to turn up one day with his wife after everybody has thought that he was in a gay relationship with a dude. And I feel like he's going to have a lot of explaining to do, and that's going to be real awkward. Especially considering that he did not tell her that the doctor was there.
Right.
And it's going to come out, sir. People are going to want to know what's going on. That one lady that worked at that counter was very chatty and seemed to be shipping the two of you extremely hard. I think she will take it personally that you aren't together anymore.
They did try to tell her.
They did. But yeah, I just feel like that's not going to go super well for him.
I like that that's what she assumed. And she was just like, oh, look at you two with your baby. So cute.
At one point, he's like, take care of my baby. Don't follow me. And she's like, I wasn't going to. You guys need time alone. I get it. And it's like, really? You should have a stronger reaction to a dude foisting his child on you and yelling not to follow him. But, you know, I understand the sentiment. I appreciate it.
I just appreciate also from a society standpoint that, you know, this show is geared towards families and towards young viewers. They drop this misunderstanding, but no one's offended by what she sees as a gay relationship, and it's just, oh, look at you two, it's so cute, like anyone else. And that's a good message for children to see.
Yeah, and I really loved the scene where Craig thinks the doctor is about to kiss him. And there's a very serious moment of like, from him.
Right.
He's sort of,
there's no
like,
panic.
oh God, what are you doing? He's like, are you going to kiss me? It's sort of a breathless anticipation.
And the doctor's like, I have been practicing. I hear I'm all right at it.
And then he has to say, rather than like, no, I'm not interested in you that way. I don't like men. He says, no, I'm taken. That is his reasoning. And I just was so happy about it. It just delighted me.
Yeah. The way it was handled is just so like none of this is an issue. None of this is unusual behavior. None of it is anything to be like scared of, or like no gay panic.
Yep.
Like most 90s sitcoms, there's like no gay panic in there. And I love that I don't know if the guy who wrote this episode is gay or not, but the showrunner before, Russell T Davies, is gay. And there wasn't a whole lot of this kind of energy. Now we've got Stephen Moffat, who's not. And is running the show with like, sure, let's have that misunderstanding and have it be not a thing at all. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate that.
Agreed. Hard agree. So the doctor, like, Craig winds up catching up with him in basically it's like a mall, I guess.
It's like a department store. Like, think of like a Macy's.
It's just that this toy area is walled off from everything.
Yeah.
So it feels more like a mall at some times and then a department store at other times. But when we see them out, like when he leaves the toy area, there's like a big sort of open spot with the elevator, and like it looked more like a mall there. I just sort of I went back and forth where initially I did think that the doctor's working in just a toy shop. Then I was like, oh, it's part of this whole other thing. It was just sort of odd and might be a reflection of how shops are set up. I mean, things are weird in the UK.
I'm looking it up to see if this is a real department store. It looks like it is not.
Mm-hmm.
But it reminded me of like in England. You've been to England. I haven't. Everything I know about England, I know from TV. But there's Harrods, right? Mm-hmm. Isn't Harrods like a big department store?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I feel like this was like modeled after.
No, definitely not. If you've seen a Harrods,
I haven't.
Definitely not. This is much more like, this feels maybe like a Marks and Spencer a little bit more, because they also do clothing, but they also have food. They're sort of like a Walmart in that way, or a Target actually, because they're a little bit nicer. But even that, they don't have a toy section. So okay. I feel like maybe the show just needed there to be a toy section for the doctor to have something to be doing with children.
Yeah, but it also felt like any of those like mall anchor stores like Macy's or Dillard's or Sears or whatever, where there's, here's your perfume section, here's your ladies clothing section, here's your men's clothing section, here's your housewares, whatever. Here's the toys.
Yeah, that's really the thing that throws it off for me. Everything else I was prepared to see, but then the toy section, I was just like, this is weird. So they get into the elevator, and he's in the middle of talking about how there's obviously some like teleportation device somewhere in the store. And then I looked at the ceiling and was like, all right, so they are definitely like in the teleportation device, right? And sure enough, they are beamed up somehow to the ship with the cybermen. The doctor tries to keep Craig from turning around before he notices where they are. And the doctor uses his screwdriver to sort of fuck it up, but they wind up being able to fix it much more quickly than he anticipated and come back down again. He thinks that he's bought himself like a fair amount of time, but not really. It's like an hour.
Well, he also thinks they got beamed up, but we learned later there was no up. The ship was underneath.
Right. And this is when the doctor tries to tell Craig to leave town. And Craig is like, are you kidding me? When shit started to go left last time, the people who died were all the ones who weren't with you. Being with you is the safest place to be. You always survive. And the doctor is very touched by this in this very melancholy way.
Because that's exactly the reason that he left Rory and Amy.
It's a real, like, I loved his expression in that conversation of just like, he understands why Craig feels this way. It's not like Craig's using some sound logic here from his own experiences.
Yeah.
But the doctor, there's like, and Craig is like speaking to the kind of complex that the doctor has, wanting to have a companion, aka a partner. Is that better? Companion's a little old fashioned. So it's sort of like he's being tempted to just do the thing again that he has been trying to apparently like break himself of.
Yeah.
And he goes for it.
And if it has been 200 years, as we learn, and he's been doing this by himself for 200 years, he's probably extremely lonely.
Yeah.
And it's very tempting.
Yeah. I wonder if there's like any change on the TARDIS since he's been doing this by himself for so long.
We don't see inside.
Lots of suspicious tissues. Okay, so this lady, he's asking around whether or not people have seen something weird or suspicious. And this lady mentions a metal rat, silver rat.
A silver rat with glowing red eyes.
That she thought was a toy and she wanted to buy one for her nephew. And it turns out her grandson or whatever. And they are like, what are you talking about, you crazy old woman? There's no such toy. And it turns out that it is like some strange sort of cybermen thing.
Cybermat.
Cybermat?
Mm-hmm.
Matt?
Matt. Cybermat. M-A-T.
Why?
Well, let me look it up for you. It's not, sorry, just inhaled some spit, apparently. It's not a new thing, this concept of the cybermat.
Oh, okay.
So let me see where that originated.
Yeah, because that, I once you said it, I was like, oh yeah, he corrects Craig at one point about what he's calling it. But it just doesn't fit in my brain, so I guess I, like, ejected it.
The various types of cybermat seen so far have all had a metallic body, usually segmented. Some types have had eyes, some mouths, and some have had cilia. At least one type had visible organic teeth. That's the one that we saw. These are small cyborgs used as advanced guards, plague carriers, and energy thieves by the Cybermen. And I'm going to send you a picture of this older style cybermat because it is fucking hilarious.
Yay!
Will it let me save this picture? Keep talking.
I am
we'll
just like, I love seeing the stuff from the original, like, designs. I find it's deeply endearing in its way.
I have to just send you a link to the page. It wouldn't let me save the picture.
Okay. Cybermat-tomb. Let's see. Oh my God. Oh, that's so cute.
Right? It looks like, oh my God. Hold on.
He's like a weird horseshoe crab mixed with
Kind
like
of.
a Roomba.
Click on the one I just sent you because it's showing a screen cap of the same one, but if you click on it,
Oh my God.
hopefully.
What are his eyes? Those look like sugar cubes. And it's just like a piece of felt wrapped around it. Is that a shoe?
Please click to the next picture. It looks like a penis.
No. It really does. I don't like any of this. All right, I am out. Oh, here, sir. Speaking of things that make us deeply uncomfortable, Craig trying to question the girl who works in the ladies' wear section.
Yeah.
What is he doing? She winds up calling over security, and I do not blame her one little bit.
Yeah.
This dude gives off real... His energy is suspect, is all I'm saying. I don't like it. He says, have you noticed anything unusual? Interesting? Talk to me about ladies' wear.
Yeah,
Sir. Sir.
He should not be given any jobs that have to do with information gathering or spying.
I just, when you're told to get information, don't go and talk to a young girl in ladies' wear. I just recommend avoiding speaking to attractive young women in general about this sort of thing if you don't have a solid plan of how you are going to approach them, because they are going to think that you're a creep, because the majority of people that they deal with are, in fact, creeps.
Yes.
So it just stands to reason. They called George over, the security guy, and it looks like maybe he's going to get thrown out on his ear, but the doctor turns up in the nick of time. Everybody is delighted to see him, and they all give this weirdo Craig a pass because he knows the doctor. It was a pretty good moment, honestly. I like George a lot. He's so, like, happy to see the doctor. You know, he's just like, oh, hey, what's up? And then the girl is still just, I mean, she obviously likes him, but she does not change her sort of, like, snotty over it attitude. And I really feel that deeply.
It's funny because the doctor has worked in this shop for literally one day.
Right?
And they're like, oh, hey, doctor.
They did give him a name tag that says the doctor on it. And I just want to know how all of this worked out, because I barely was allowed to get a name tag with, like, a nickname on it. I worked someplace where they wanted to put my full name, including last name, on my name tag.
What?
Yeah. And I was just like, why do you do that? And I had to, like, ask, and they were like, well, I mean, if you don't want that, you don't have to, but most people have it. And I was like, why? That's not a thing I want people knowing. Yeah. And they didn't make me, but I had to ask, which I just found baffling. So they begin to search for this fucking rat. They are in the basement, and they hear poor George get got. I didn't like that.
Yeah, poor George.
He didn't deserve it. I'm just realizing that between George and the woman who's, like, the supervisor, both the people who get got in this episode are black.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But it stands out only because they're the only two people in this episode that do disappear. We hear about other people.
Right.
But we never see them.
Yeah.
I'll give the show credit that it's not common that it's only the people of color that end up disappearing or getting hurt or whatever. They're equal opportunity murderers on this show.
Indeed. So they follow the sound of George screaming into the basement. The doctor is, like, realizing that the Cybermen are somehow using spare parts or something. It's this weird moment that jumps immediately to him doing something with dry ice back at Craig's house. And it was such an abrupt shift that I thought that I had kind of missed something, and I rewound it, which was a mistake, because rewinding streaming stuff, I don't know if you guys encounter this, but oh my God, it rewinds so fast. It rewinds so far. And then I tried to get it back to where it had been, and I went ahead of it, and I went back and forth, missing completely the area that I wanted to be for, like, I think I did it like 6 or 7 times, and finally it picked up right here with the dry ice, and I was like, forget it. I'm not trying again. But apparently this is what Craig called home, like, their base. We have to get back to base. And the doctor has been left alone with the baby as Craig goes out to take care of something.
He goes to get some more milk.
That's what it is. And the doctor is talking to the baby, describing the things that he has seen and accomplished, and hoping that the baby has as good a time as he did. And as this is all happening, the little rat is waking up and riding around the house. Mm-hmm. And the doctor sees that and realizes that they need to get the hell out of there. And he tries to call Craig to tell him, hey, don't come in. But Craig puts his phone down by the front door just as he comes in and misses the call and gets attacked. And there follows a hilarious physical comedy bit of them both having to pretend that this tiny metal object is somehow overpowering them, which is honestly very difficult to watch in its way, even though it's funny.
I like that they had to hold it down by using a baking tray.
Right?
A cookie sheet.
Like, that's the thing. That's the answer. Okay.
I also like that when the doctor crashes through the window and then they immobilize this cybermat, that then Craig is like, where is Alfie?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like, he doesn't even take... It just shows that he is a good dad.
Yeah.
Because now the danger is gone and he realizes, wait, you just crashed through a window. Where's my baby?
And
baby's just hanging out there in his papoose.
His papoose. Yeah, he falls asleep with the baby, and the doctor just leaves a note that's like, "Hi, I've gone to stop the Cybermen. Sorry, goodbye." The doctor. And then we cut to him running around the department store again, and talking to this lady about what's happening, and then realizing that maybe he shouldn't be asking her any questions because this is just not her bag, baby. And eventually he finds his way down into the ship and realizes that he had it all backwards. And he talks to some of the Cybermen and is like, there's only like 6 of you. Do you really think that you can take over? And they're like, you know us. Of course we can. What are you talking about? You've seen this ship before. What are you even acting like that's literally how it's always worked. What do you mean? And they made some solid points.
Yeah, it reminds me of in Doomsday when I think it's the doctor that says it only takes one Dalek. Mm-hmm. Like one Dalek can wipe out the entire human race. So for the Cybermen, or maybe the Dalek says that to the Cybermen, that's still one of my favorite things is when those two are arguing.
Oh my God. That is so good. What is the Cybermen say? Delete. And what did the Daleks say? Exterminate. What am I getting in my brain that I kept thinking they were saying? Something reformatting. That's nobody says reformatting, right? That feels like a thing the Cybermen would say, though.
I'm catching up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the new season, and I was watching an episode yesterday, and they're time traveling, which everyone knows I love time travel, and they're in the 80s, and there are these basically created killer robots, and one of them said exterminate, and I just started cracking up. I was like, thank you for that. They knew exactly what they were doing by having it say that, and I loved it.
I really enjoy Craig turning up at this point with a price gun.
Yeah.
And
I really wanted it to work.
Same.
Like, I wanted it to actually do something. I thought that would be really neat. Like, it disrupts their signals or something.
Mm-hmm. Same. I was kind of thinking that was what they were going to do. And instead they have this very sad moment of him being locked inside of this, like, fucking shell.
Yeah.
And I felt very sad watching the face seal up over his face.
Yeah.
This was mean. I don't like it. But I appreciate that their cyber suits come in all shapes and sizes. That's some body positivity. All right. And as he is apparently lost and the doctor is looking extremely upset that he failed, we then have the screaming baby that somehow gets through to him. And his emotional reaction overpowers the erasure that they attempted. And apparently infects all of the Cybermen. And they all begin to say overload in response to human emotion. And honestly, this is the most relatable the Cybermen have ever been to me. Same.
You like to act like you're some kind of robot.
It's not that I don't feel. It's that I don't like it. I do not like the fact that my emotions are not controllable. I do not like the fact that they have to be fucking factored into everything. It's extremely irritating and messy. And I don't like mess. Unless it's somebody else's mess, which is great. Those are fun. But, man, I just, like, the other day, I was trying to just read the lyrics of the song that Owen and I are going to dance to for our first wedding song. I couldn't even finish reading the lyrics, Jaime. I just started bawling in front of Sydney, who's going to be my maid of honor. I just fell out, just sobbing, crying. It wasn't even a little bit like, oh, I'm choked up. It was, and then, it was like a complete crack that like just exploded and a geyser shot out of it. So yeah, overload. I didn't know you could
get that way about a Ja Rule song.
Can you imagine if that was like, we just floated in and get in the center of the dance floor, spotlight on us, ladies and gentlemen, may I present? And then it's just, what would I be without my baby? Oh my God. I low-key want to do that now. Anywho. So he busts up out of that shell. All of the Cybermen basically like implode in reaction. Very funnily. The sight of the Cybermen with their hands up to their heads, but not actually touching. They don't grip their heads. They just sort of put their hands up near their heads like they're about to do sit-ups. And
their arms just don't bend.
Yeah, and it's like they like sort of jostle. Like it's like they can't writhe because that takes more movement. So they just sort of shake. Like it's really funny looking. I'm watching it right now and it is, honestly, this is really funny. Like if there were a way to make something that you're looking at be a ringtone, having these guys doing this would definitely be a tempting ringtone for me.
Give it time.
Yeah, right. So they manage to teleport right the hell out of there just as that ship blows up. They get upstairs. This lady has been faithfully caring for Alfie. And they go home and it turns out the doctor has cleaned up. Because Craig turns around after talking to this lady and getting Alfie back and the doctor's gone. And he's like, what the fuck? But he gets home and the place is all cleaned up. And the doctor has replaced the window that he broke. And honestly, this is the best present. If you guys are ever in a position where you're trying to do something nice for someone and you can't really think of anything because you don't have a lot of money or whatever, and you live near them, cleaning their house for them is one of the best things you can possibly do. Like, as long as you're not getting into their private shit. Coming in, doing all the dishes, vacuuming, wiping down counters, wiping down the fronts of cabinets, getting those baseboards. It's just so nice. And I think that is the most heartwarming part of this episode, is her getting to come home to a husband who has managed to hold things down with the child and apparently cleaned the entire house. Mm-hmm. That's a good vacation she just got to take. Good for her.
I like the callback to her still forgetting her keys.
Yes. Yeah, because initially when she's knocking, I was like, what? And then she said, I forgot my keys. And I was like, oh, right. That's a thing. And before he leaves, Craig gives the doctor the cowboy hat that we see him wearing when they turn up. And
the doctor also takes some of her blue envelopes.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. When does he take those?
Right before he's given the Stetson, he says he's going to be going to America, and he has these envelopes, and he says that he hopes that Sophie won't mind that he helped himself to her envelopes. Or he says, I helped myself to these, and holds them out for a second. So it's lucky that she had the exact right blue.
It is indeed. Or maybe she's subconsciously remembering and doing that because now that color blue just means so much to her.
Maybe.
And then we have this weird moment. One of those moments that, again, is supposed to be heartwarming, but is just really, like, really, dude, which is when the doctor tells a random child on the street, "You're welcome."
Yeah.
For the fact that I saved the world a bunch of times. And I just cannot get over the hubris of telling a kid, "You're welcome." When, like, I can't do it. This was just way too funny to me. And then it turns in, like, he, like, lifts his hat, and then we have, like, this monologue of these kids remembering that time that they saw the doctor and the fact that they didn't know who he was or what was going on at the time. And this was just a weird choice to have it happen this way.
Yeah.
And these, it turns out, the like monologues are part of a set of eyewitness accounts in a file that River is in the middle of reading. And she has the notebook with the time of death listed and the location and everything. And she's sitting there, and this woman's spooky voice begins, "Tick-tock goes the clock." And it's Eye Patch Lady, looking spooky as all get out. Is this a common cosplay?
I don't know.
I am tempted.
Let's see.
I'm not going to lie. She's got curly hair. She's got a bit of the old getting older jowls, which I rock already at my young age. She has a pretty sick pair of shoulder pads in that blazer. Mm-hmm. And overall, I feel like this silver eye patch look could really work for me. So,
yeah, there's quite a few people just doing a quick Google search. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of pictures of just her coming up, but there are a number of people who did Madame Kavarian cosplay. Actually, it looks like it's 3 people. Just a lot of pictures of the 3 individuals doing it.
Gotcha. So yeah, she's here to basically tell River that she was created by them to kill the doctor, and this is what they have set her up to do, and there is nothing that she can do about it. And when River's looking at her and trying to figure out who she is, she says, "Don't try to remember, because we've done way too good a job on your little mind for that to work." And then a couple of dudes in fatigues come in. Also, by the way, the creepy aliens are behind her. Mm-hmm. And the dudes in the fatigues bring in the spacesuit that the person who kills the doctor is wearing. And she gets shot with a tranquilizer or sedative or something. Are tranquilizers and sedatives the same thing?
Basically.
And kind of begins to go out of consciousness. And we see her loaded into the suit, breathing as she wakes up underwater. And evidently she is supposed to be the one that comes up out of the water to kill the doctor eventually. Mm-hmm. And that is the end of the episode. So
what do you think of that?
I mean, I had said reveal that it was Amy's kid who was killing the doctor, except that it was a baby kid at the time. So I am going to pat myself on the back for getting that right, even though it was not right in any of the senses that I meant it. But I don't know why it has to be done this way. This is just
what do you mean?
Like, we need you to come up out of the water in a spacesuit? What a weird
drama.
Right. That's what I mean. Like, why? There have to be easier ways. But maybe there aren't. It's just such a weird way to do this. And then there's the fact that I had thought the face that he sees was a baby face, or at least a child face. But this is like a full-grown river getting put into this thing. And so I'm like, well, maybe I was thinking of in the like warehouse that he saw a child. Maybe I got that mixed up.
Well, you thought the child that was in the spacesuit, because we never saw the face of the person in the spacesuit.
Right.
In the lake. So, because there's the person in the spacesuit, and then there's the kid in the spacesuit later on in that episode, you were like, is it the same person? You see a baby face in there? It is the same person. Just at different points of their life.
Weird. And like, why is it River that's the one to do it? Why? Because it doesn't feel like you need to be close to the doctor to get at him in this particular situation.
They stole, I don't know, okay. I don't know why in a way that I can tell you at this point.
Gotcha.
But they kidnapped her to raise her by brainwashing her to kill the doctor. Which we learned when she was Melody and then regenerated into River.
Right.
We realized that her whole purpose has been to kill the doctor. She got her opportunity and she tried to take it. But then that instance where then she gave her regenerations to save him changed her as a person. She had been living with this sole purpose, basically, of like, I'm going to kill the doctor once I get to meet him. And then she met him and didn't want to kill him anymore. And so she went off on her own and went to this university to learn everything she could about him in the meantime. And become, like, she studied archaeology and she kind of just forgot. She reprogrammed herself to not want to kill the doctor, and then they come back and it's like she's a sleeper agent, and
but the lady says
her on.
we did a thorough job enough on your mind, so it seems like she's claiming credit for the fact that she doesn't remember
them, like she doesn't remember the silence.
Oh,
I thought that's what she was referring to.
Okay,
was because she's scared when she sees them.
I see what you mean. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was because she's like, "What is that?" And they're like, "Well, we very effectively made you forget them." Because she does meet them later, but that's a different version of River. That's a later version of River. Mm-hmm. This one has never met the silence, as far as she knows.
This is all very convoluted.
A little bit.
All right. I guess.
I've never completely understood, other than for the shock factor of, oh my god, not only is River the one who kills the doctor, but she's Amy and Rory's kid. Mm-hmm. Those things I feel like were purposeful, but also sort of wedged in a little bit.
Yeah, I really thought that a big factor there was going to be the fact that she could regenerate, but she only does that the one time. But maybe that is why they like tried to grab her, was because they thought they could make more use of that, and she just wound up sort of like ruining the plan by giving them away.
Yeah, I think they originally took her because she was conceived in the time vortex. Mm-hmm. So she has Time Lord type capabilities. And therefore, if they needed her to live longer, she has regeneration.
Right.
And she regenerates as a little kid, but then she's Melody. Like, Melody that then grows up with Amy and Rory.
Right. Okay.
So in looking for Madame Kavarian cosplay, I found some cosplay of that scarecrow thing that you like.
The scarecrow thing?
From that that episode in 19...
Oh, yeah, with the sack
18
heads.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been... Because we looked... I think we looked for cosplayers doing that particular look. And there were a lot of them.
Yeah. This one in particular is pretty horrifying. I'm going to send you the link.
Okay.
All right. So as far as trivia goes, there were some working titles for this. They were Carry On Lodging, Everything Must Go, The Last Adventure, and 3 Cybermen and a Baby.
Oh my god, I really like 3 Cybermen and a Baby. That is pretty good, kids.
This is the first television story to feature a cybermat since the 4th Doctor.
Wow.
They had been redesigned with biological teeth and gums, which, for the record, I fucking hated.
Why is that? Is it just for the creep factor?
Probably.
Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, it works. It is incredibly creepy.
I think it was also because they now have the CGI capabilities to make it have a little more menace than looking like a little scrub brush from the Scrubbing Bubbles commercials.
It genuinely, like, it's hilarious. It is not threatening at all. It looks like a computer mouse that somebody, like, glued a doily to. Yikes.
This is also the first regular season episode since the series revival in which the Doctor does not have an ongoing companion with him at some point.
Huh. Okay. Wow.
Regular season episodes, so not counting Christmas specials,
right.
where often Karen Gillan and Arthur Darvill were credited in the opening as they had been during the rest of the season. This is the first time in the series that any actor's name has appeared in the opening credits for less than 1 minute of on-screen appearance.
Wow. It was less than a minute. So, I guess that makes sense.
Good for them for getting paid for a whole episode. They got their full episode rate.
Indeed.
Probably half a day's work. This is the first and only televised episode in which River's song appears in that wasn't written by Stephen Moffat.
Huh. Wow. That's pretty crazy. All right.
Yeah. So he's always, and in the future, when she appears, he's always the writer of those episodes.
Gotcha.
I wonder if they needed this to carry over to the next episode. You know, like they knew where they were headed. They really needed to have this reveal at the end of this episode as like a, oh shit, cliffhanger kind of thing.
Yeah.
And if Stephen Moffat told the writer of this episode, like, you have to also put this in.
Yeah.
To carry over. And obviously he, as a showrunner, doesn't have the time to write every episode, though I'm sure he would have loved to. Because he's Stephen Moffat. Mm-hmm. Does he write all the episodes of Sherlock?
I do not know. No idea.
Because there's only 3 episodes a season, right?
Yes.
It'd be much easier to do that.
They are very long episodes, but...
Yeah, they're like mini movies, right?
Basically, yeah. Yeah, I do not know.
Right, that's that, though. That's what I've got.
All right. Well, I guess that's it then. I don't have anything to add. I do want to let everybody know that the first episode of Song of Ice and Fire should be up on the feed. And it is just the preliminary one.
I was going to ask, because I listened to that.
Yeah. And also, Miles and I are still in the middle of Mistborn. And we are getting closer and closer to August when... Stephanie Meyer releases Midnight Sun, which we plan to cover. So stay tuned for that also. And if you want to listen to that, Unspoiled Podcast Patreon is at patreon.com/unspoiled. And you just become a patron at $5 and you can listen to all of those. And all of the Twilight ones and all of the Mistborn ones. I think that's about it. But yeah, Song of Ice and Fire is coming. Stay tuned.
Song of Ice and Fire is not patrons only.
No, it is not. It is for everybody.
Okay.
And I have ownership of the feed now, which is pretty exciting. Apple has transferred it to me from Brendan, which last time I had tried to do that, they did not have the ability to, but evidently now they do. So that is very exciting. Yeah, I think that's everything. Is there anything else you want to add, ma'am, before you wrap?
Yes.
All right.
Krista and I have started doing the Vampire Diaries again. The first episode, which is actually season 3, episode 15, because we stopped for a while, is up already on iTunes. We are already having so much fun with it. She has already rewatched everything up to the point where we're at, because she's insane. She binged 2.5 seasons in like a week and a half.
Wow.
But I think she's actually enjoying the show even more now than she was before, and because she was bemoaning the fact that she loves it, it's so nice and comforting, and now she has to stop and can't watch ahead.
Aww.
So she was like, please recommend something to me that has the same sort of feel so that I have something fun to watch.
Yay.
So I'm very excited to be back doing it. I should not judge her. I have binged all of season 3, everything that we haven't covered yet, and I am almost finished with season 4. So I'm no better.
Wow. Y'all are maniacs.
I mean, a lot of it, I just have it on while I'm doing other stuff because I've seen it. And I want to like refresh, but not fully pay attention to all the little details until I have to talk about it.
Right.
So I am like doing work or doing dishes or playing Animal Crossing or whatever.
Same.
But it's so fun. So please check us out. We're not patrons only. It's it'll be up for patrons first, and then a couple days later I put it up on iTunes. So
cool. All right. Well, guys, thank you all again so much for listening. Hope you're enjoying the coverage, and we will be seeing you soon with the finale of season 6.
I cannot believe we're at the finale of season 6.
How many more seasons are there of this show? 6 more?
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Well, shit. So we're like halfway through about.
Yeah.
Damn. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you soon. Until then, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.